The hypocrisy of the Democratic Party. Now, in this video, I want to discuss how the Democratic Party is suing Russia and the Trump campaign for interfering in the election. But at the same time, they sort of are blindsided by their own interference in elections from 2016 and what's happening right now. And they use Russia as a distraction for people to look away from their own internal corruption by trying to prop up more corporate candidates that don't really give a fuck about Medicare for all. They don't give a fuck about ending the wars. They don't give a fuck about having free tuition or significantly lowering tuition. They don't give a fuck about raising the minimum wage to a living wage. They don't give a fuck about issues. They only care about having power and then sort of giving breadcrumbs away. So in this video, I'm going to play a clip of Tom Perez talking to someone about his lawsuit right now.
We return to the lawsuit filed by the Democratic National Committee today against President Trump's campaign, several top Trump advisors, WikiLeaks, and the Russian government. The DNC alleges a massive plot to interfere in the 2016 presidential election, in part by hacking the Democratic Party's computer network and by releasing stolen emails. I spoke with Democratic National Committee Chair Tom Perez a short time ago, and I started by asking why they filed the suit when the investigation by Special Counsel Robert Mueller is still underway.
Well, there are three reasons, Judy. First of all, we don't know when Director Mueller will finish his investigation, and he should take all the time he needs to do a thorough job. We have to file within a statute of limitations, and so if we sit and wait, then we're frankly committing legal malpractice. A year ago when I came to the DNC, it was clear to me that we'd been hacked, and we'd been hacked by the Russians. It was less clear to me a year ago whether there was a conspiracy between the Russians and the Trump campaign. It has become abundantly clear to me that there is that conspiracy, and because we've done our homework, we filed this suit. And then finally, Judy, I'm very concerned about the upcoming elections. Civil lawsuits have an important purpose of deterrence, and I hear from so many people across this country. They've hacked before, they've interfered in 2016, right, and they're going to do it again. What are you going to do about it, Tom?
Did you like when he said, what are you going to do about it, Tom? Well, how about not rig your own primaries? Well, now we know that believe Steny Hoyer, the number 2 Democrat in the House, told a progressive, someone who's not taking any corporate PAC money, someone who runs his campaign totally by small donations. He told him in a secret recording, because the guy was recording him, hey, you need to get out of the race. We'd like you to get out. Washington is choosing the other candidate, which is the more corporate candidate. And he's sort of rigging the primary in favor of the more corporate candidate who will probably follow orders from corporations. And nothing's wrong with corporations, but when they use their influence and money to get policies that benefit the people at the top over their American people or their workers, that's corruption. That's what's called cronyism. And Nancy Pelosi was asked about it, and she said, I don't see anything wrong with that. You don't see anything wrong with effectively throwing all the money and support behind a candidate that's just more corporate, that's more donor friendly. So if you're going to get upset about Russia interfering in the election, why aren't you getting upset when you're doing it? It's because it's a distraction. It's used for Democrats to manipulate their own agenda to get attention, whatever it may be, to distract from real issues like, hey, this Russia investigation is important. We need to find out what happened. We need to find out if it's going to happen again. But at the same time, we need to still cover issues. We need to talk about health care. 4 million people have lost their health insurance, right? College tuition, I think it's $1.5 trillion students are in debt. I mean, how are they supposed to attribute to the economy when we're penalizing them for getting an education? You know, and talk about the health care. We need Medicare for all. We need higher wages. We need to talk about the fact that CEO pay is exploded. It's exploded. And these are the issues we need to talk about. And the more we talk about Russia or this or that, it sort of clouds that. And Democrats or corporate center-left Democrats, all they do is talk about Russia. So this is bullshit. You know, we need to figure this shit out. As far as which Democrats can you trust and which Democrats are just playing this and using this as a way to advance their own agenda. Now, I'm going to play a clip from RT that shows you how the primary was rigged, in fact, for Hillary Clinton by Donna Brazile, who already gave, who was caught giving Clinton questions in debates. She was already caught in her emails doing that once they leaked. And then I'm going to play a clip from Ed Schultz, who was working at MSNBC at the time of the 2016 election and was covering them. And I'm going to show you how they effectively blocked Bernie Sanders from getting any media attention and early on. So I'm going to play that for you.
Almost a year's passed since the US presidential elections, but scandals in both parties continue to emerge. Now, in an upcoming book, former Democratic National Committee chair Donna Brazile has revealed problems inside the party during the candidate selection process. She alleges that Hillary Clinton took control of the Democratic campaign months before her nomination and exploited the Democrats' poor finances to get to the top. Well, Brazile's faced a backlash over her claims. Here's what she had to say to her critics.
Those who are telling me to shut up, they told Hillary that a couple of months ago. You know what I tell them? Go to hell. Why am I supposed to be the only person that is unable to tell my story?
And her former team have responded with an open letter. It's signed by more than 100 members who claim she was under the influence of what they say was Russian propaganda. They also said that they don't recognise Brazile's portrayal of the campaign. Several key Democratic figures say they're outraged but not surprised by the claims against Clinton in the race to be the party's presidential candidate, including the campaign team of veteran politician Bernie Sanders, who, of course, missed out on the nomination. Wrapping all this up from Washington now, Samira Khan.
Trump has been saying it, and Bernie supporters have been suspecting it.
The DNC interfered in the process. The debate schedule was rigged. The joint fundraising agreements were improper.
And now it's almost certain the Democratic Party's 2016 presidential nominee was fixed from the get-go. So says Donna Brazile, former DNC interim chair and longtime Clintonite. In her new book, Brazile described how Clinton had the whole party in her pocket before she officially became its nominee. She even described an agreement made between the Clinton campaign, the DNC, and Clinton's joint fundraising committee. Now, the arrangement was apparently made to clear the DNC's debt after Obama's re-election campaign set them back about $24 million. To put it simply, the DNC needed money and Clinton was ready to pay. And the deal paid off, but the party became entirely dependent on Clinton, who practically kept the DNC on financial life support. Brazile says the deal allowed her campaign special permissions, including the final say on party decisions.
In exchange for raising money and investing in the DNC, Hillary would control the party's finances, strategy, and all the money raised.
Quite the stunning revelation by the former party chair. And she's not alone. Senator Elizabeth Warren, who even endorsed Hillary Clinton and, according to some rumors, was even vetted to be her running mate, is now also throwing her former ally under the bus.
Do you agree with the notion that it was rigged?
Yes.
But at a time when the DNC is trying to rebuild and disassociate themselves from the 2016 fiasco, this is all quite the embarrassment.
There was more oversight and more direction given to me on content at MSNBC than there ever has been here at RT. And I think that it's very sad that that story is not getting out. I think it's many times I was told what to lead with on MSNBC. Many times I was told what I was not going to do, and I've got a story that had I not been involved in it, I would have never believed it. And Phil Griffin, who I consider a friend to this day, was a watchdog, far more than anything I am exposed to here at RT America.
Did he tell you what to say? Did he tell you an angle to take?
Often. In fact, when Bernie Sanders was announcing that he was going to be a candidate for the nomination of the Democratic Party in Burlington, Vermont, I was the only cable host between Fox, MSNBC, and CNN that was there live to cover it. Now, there were live cameras there, but we had coordinated with the Sanders campaign that at 5 o'clock he was going to make his announcement, and we were going to cover this on the Ed Show. I go to Bernie Sanders' house that afternoon and interview in the backyard, about a 15-minute interview. The grandkids are running around. It's a big day for the Sanders family. He's going to announce that he's running for president. We're going to carry it live later on in the day, and we're going to run this one-on-one tape with Bernie. 3,000 people are there on Lake Champlain. It's 5 minutes to air, and I get a phone call from Phil Griffin. You're not covering this. I said, Phil, Bernie Sanders is announcing he's running for president. He's going to be a president. I don't care. You're not covering this. And it got rather contentious. And
Why though?
I don't, well, now you're asking me for opinion. I'm giving you fact right now about what happened. And other people who were there with me will attest to the fact and back me up that this is what happened. We were told that we had to cover something down in Texas that was totally meaningless, and another press conference in Baltimore, which was already had been in the news for a few days. We're covering Bernie Sanders live. We're coordinated with his campaign. And I'm told 5 minutes before, you're not covering Bernie Sanders. Now, let me give you the opinion. I think the Clintons were connected to Andy Lack, connected at the hip. I think that they didn't want anybody in their prime time or anywhere in their lineup supporting Bernie Sanders. I think that they were in the tank for Hillary Clinton, and I think it was managed, and 45 days later I was out at MSNBC. Questions at the campaign, the DNC undercutting Bernie Sanders, the super delegates that were organized by Hillary Clinton. I mean, in my state of Minnesota, where I'm a resident and pay taxes, Al Franken and Amy Klobuchar were super delegates, and despite the fact that Bernie Sanders won Minnesota, they supported Clinton. It was the fix was in. The fix was in with the mainstream media. The fix was in with managing the news and shutting down Bernie Sanders. And it wasn't until he started matching the Clintons and raising money that he became, well, we got to cover this guy. But from the start, the Clintons didn't want any competition. They didn't want Bernie Sanders around. They didn't want the Keystone XL pipeline. They didn't want to push her on that issue. They didn't want to push her on free education for all, and they certainly didn't want to push her on the TPP and also universal health care. Those were four main issues that Bernie Sanders, had he not been in the campaign, Hillary Clinton would have never had to address. And so I think the fix was in early on to Deep Six Bernie. To this day, it kind of pisses me off because they talk about collusion. There's nothing more than collusion than this.
There you go. There you have it. There it all is. It's not even like hard to find. You know, the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party for interfering in the 2016 election, while interfering in primaries now. Look at Joe Crowley. Now, if you don't know who Joe Crowley is, he was running against Alexander Ocasio-Cortez. He lost the race pretty handily by 15 points, but he's trying to stay on the ballot as a third-party candidate to either make sure that she loses to the Republican or try and retake his seat in the House. And if you don't know who Joe Crowley is, this guy's one of the most corrupt Democrats. He's voted for Wall Street deregulation time after time. He's voted for the Iraq War. I'm pretty sure he left a debate or left a bill about deregulating Wall Street, went to a donor fundraising for Wall Street, then came back and then deregulated for Wall Street. He's incredibly corrupt. You can go look at his donations. They're all from companies. They're barely from small donors. And he's trying to destroy her upcoming race against the Republican. Now they're doing that all over. They're doing that all over where Democratic Party is trying to push out progressives. Because once progressives start running, Republicans and Democrats like Medicare for all. It's almost got 62% approval rating. They want college tuition significantly reduced. They don't want to be in any more wars. They want their tax dollars to go to them. They want to work on infrastructure. They want affordable health care. All these issues across party lines. Sure, there's people that will stick. There's Republicans that won't do any of that. But when you run against corruption and when you run for lower class and middle class working people. Both parties, independents, Republicans, Democrats, they all love that issue. So once that gets out, and once people see more progressives winning, it's sort of changed the spectrum right now, because people are saying, oh, well, the Democratic Party is too far left. They need to come to the center. No, they don't. They just lost 1,000 seats in the House during Obama's 8 years. They lost the House. They lost the Senate. They lost the... what else did they lose? They lost 69 out of 99 governors' legislations. It's like, why would we try more of the same? So there you have it right there. Even like Ed Schultz, MSNBC, the liberal news network, is forcing out candidates. I mean, it's forcing out people to not talk about, Bernie Sanders or progressive candidates. So you see how the power sort of has all the money, but progressives have the votes and the people. And you just see how the hypocrisy of the Democratic Party. And for the record, I'm not saying I'm a Republican. I'm not saying I support Trump. Of course not. No, that'd be fucking crazy. All I'm saying is that be wary of Democrats using Russia to further their agenda. If they really cared about the democratic process, they would get rid of superdelegates. They wouldn't rig their own primaries. So I'm just trying to show you the hypocrisy and not to trust them. So be careful.